Hello, thank you for being here. I am Marina Orms, and today's topic is how to thrive in times of climate chaos, threats to democracy, and more. Thank you for watching my videos here on my YouTube channel, and thank you for subscribing and for all your support. There are so many different factors going on in the astrology right now that I'm not sure exactly what direction I'm going to end up following, but let's just start down the list and see what we get to. So just to get started, yesterday I began talking about why you should believe in yourself, and I brought up the themes that I talked about last week on Sunday when I did a little more in-depth video about how to overcome lies, propaganda, and gaslighting. And I talked about Neptune in Pisces and how we are in this time period where we can create a new mythology. And thinking about mythology, one of my favorite mythologies, and I think has been really popular in our culture, is the Lord of the Rings, and other stories that have similar themes, but just that feeling of being the little guy and doing something really big and important that's within you, that you know how to do, and it all has to do with simply being yourself and fulfilling your mission, the one that you just know that you have to do, and you know how to do it even though you have no idea how you're going to accomplish it. And so that's really us. That's all of us. And it's us finding our courage. It's us taking action. It's us being in learning how to manage when our fears come up, and how to not be knocked down by those fears, but rather to, learn how to keep going even when we have fear. And so there has been a lot coming up, a pandemic, just a lot of change in the world, and a lot of things that can make us feel afraid. So tomorrow there is an exact conjunction between the planet Mars and the outer planet Uranus. And I've talked in these videos about Uranus being in Taurus and what that has to do with in terms of shakeup and change to the status quo, how we might experience surprises, and we might be getting used to surprises because surprises are becoming the new normal, and how things are changing in our routines, in our normal everyday expectations, which is all very Taurus. And Uranus, of course, is the planet of change and shakeup and freedom, rebellion and revolution. So how that energy is being activated, and as Mars has been over the last few days coming closer and closer to its conjunction with Uranus, Mars going through Taurus. Mars in Taurus has to do with finding our courage, the ability to make decisions and take action and move, take action to move in a direction by making choices. That energy has to do with, in Taurus, has to do with how we're taking action in a way that can be sustained, in a way that is part of the new normal, and part of our routine, and how we are moving forward, and how we are putting action and courage into our everyday lives, and what that looks like, because it looks different for each of us. And just to remember that even though I'm talking about the mythology of Frodo destroying the ring, which he takes on that mission over the whole story, but we as individuals are not alone. We have all of us, we have each other, and each of us is doing our own little part. And each of us, in all of our little choices that we make, even if it's to, buy organic at the grocery store, or to take a moment to let our representatives know that we care about climate, and to make choices in our lives to drive our hybrid cars and our electric cars, and to live our lives in these everyday ways, in ways that are more sustainable. And if you can't do that, to continue setting intentions and being part of a belief in the future, because as we go forward, one of the things that we see inevitably is that something is going to change. Something's going to happen, and whether that will be in a positive direction or a more scary direction, we don't know. And astrology actually can't tell us that. But what astrology can tell us is what is possible if we do align with the highest possibilities. And so yesterday I was talking about believing in yourself, and Jupiter being in Aries, and what it looks like to see ourselves as the place where we should be putting our faith, and taking some of that like the feeling of waiting for an outside authority figure to solve our problems for us. I think that is one of the main messages of our times, and of Pluto going through Capricorn, is that we are meant to find that authority from within. We are meant to start to say, no way, I am not going to live in a world that outlaws abortion, or whatever, all the things. I am not going to live in a world that doesn't treat Black people and Indigenous people fairly, right? Fairly, the way we all want to be treated. And all the things. Okay, so Jupiter's retrograde. What does that mean? It means we are going inside to look at where we can believe, what it is we believe in, and how putting that belief in ourselves is ultimately, how to do that. So there's some reflection. Anytime a planet goes retrograde, it takes the energy of that planet inward. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, it asks us to reconsider where we're putting our faith and trust. And is it really in the place that is going to be the most aligned with the outcomes we really want? Who do we need to trust? How do we need to trust ourselves? How can we believe in ourselves in a way that says, I am just going to volunteer, or get together with my neighbors, or do this thing, and I don't know that that's going to make any difference, but I'm going to do it. And it just takes collectively all of us doing those little things to not only be contributing to the solution, but to also be living in a way that's more fulfilling, that's more meaningful, that's more joyful and healthy, and brings us wellness. So healthy for body, mind, spirit, and emotion. So taking care of ourselves allows us to be more creative, to be more powerful, and to find that voice when it's time to speak our truth. So that's what this moon cycle is all about, that began on July 28th with the Leo new moon. The moon is beginning to wax. Just, we're just 3 days out from the Leo new moon as of this video, and we are in the beginning of that energy. We're just beginning to glimpse what is possible, or what it might look like to speak our truth, to share our voice, to live in a way that is more bold and more authentic. And that is underlined by Mars, the Mars conjunction with Uranus. Living our life from courage, living our life from authenticity, from a belief in possibility. Even if you don't know what that possibility is going to look like, if you can say, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm sure going to be on the side of being proactive about what it is I want. And that doesn't mean, not everybody is comfortable, being a political activist or has that's where their energy is. And we don't all need to be overt political activists, but it's small. There's so many examples in the news of small things that people have done that are creative, that help to interrupt some of the status quo that says don't be noisy, don't be messing with what is, don't be challenging. And of course we have to right now, because some of the ways that things are just not acceptable, and we shouldn't be sitting down and be silent. Okay. So the energy of Mars can be more on the side of aggression, of attack. It can be scary. Things can be moving in a way that cause us to be on the defensive. But also Mars energy is also about courage, and it's also about finding that clarity where we know what's important to us, what feels true and right. And again, needing to have that clarity of what's true and right, you may need to ask yourself, is what I'm acting on, is what I'm moving toward and aligning myself with, is it truly what is going to bring the outcomes I want? And what are you believing in? And so some questioning might be happening, especially with Jupiter retrograde, about what those beliefs are. And so we might actually see some people questioning their convictions, right? Some of the places where they've been putting their faith and trust, and whether that's truly aligned with the greatest good for all beings, or what they want in their lives. And we can all look at the ways and question the ways that we've what are the convictions we've had, what have we been putting our energy into, how have we been looking at our daily choices, our political choices, our choices about what we believe in, whether we believe in positive outcomes or not, and just questioning some of those things, looking deeper, asking ourselves just reflecting on what we believe in, and where we're placing our faith and trust. A big word that people talk about is hope, and whether there is room for hope. And hope is an interesting word. I think that hope is something that requires a positive choice. It is not something that either happens or doesn't happen. It's something that we choose. And so when we choose to have hope, we're also choosing to have creative energy. And creative energy is what changes things. So having, maybe you need to have hope, maybe you don't. But as long as you are striving for the best version of yourself. And I think that's really what it all comes down to, because as you are striving for and moving toward and finding the courage to step into the very best version of yourself, which is continually evolving, continually developing, finding its way, learning, growing, right? That's what we're here to do. As long as you're doing those things and moving in the direction of being all that you can be, it's good for you, right? It makes you feel good. It supports that body, mind, spirit, emotion, well-being. And and it's good for your community. It's good for the world, whatever it is you're working toward or putting your energy into or putting your hope into. One of the things we might ask is, if we have fears about the world and the situation we're in, how can we turn a fear into a hope? What would that look like? What would it look like to turn our fears into, like, our fears of destruction of the climate, for example? Like, we're seeing some real effects of climate change, and it's very scary. But one of the things about about the future, which I've talked about before, about how the definition of the future is that it's unknown and it hasn't happened yet. And many times in the past, in our history, we've had moments where the future brought something to people who couldn't see it before that time. So many examples of revolutions in science, in spirituality, in politics, in art, where something came into the collective consciousness or individual consciousnesses that hadn't existed before. So what kind of imagination can we have about a future in which, there are climate solutions? And it's like, it's been said that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy to live in the state of feeling the doom of climate change and some of the other disasters that we're living through. But what we're not doing when we go into that place of giving up or not feeling hopeful or just resignation, what we're not acknowledging is that first of all, we're infinitely creative and capable, and there's very well the possibility that something could happen that we haven't experienced yet. It hasn't occurred to us yet. We haven't seen how we can solve problems of this magnitude before, because we haven't solved them, because we haven't had to. So what would it look like for humanity to solve this problem? What would it look like 10, 50, 100 years from now if we started to really make some shifts in attitude, in how we think about the problems, in how we think about the solutions, in the ways that we put energy into the solutions? The amount of energy that we have right now, human imagination energy, right? And creative energy and energy to just do work day to day. The amount of that's going into sustaining old ways of being could over time be transferred into something that can be truly future oriented, revolutionary. So many possibilities about what could happen. We're seeing, based on our old paradigm of what we see as possible, right? And I'm not a climate scientist, but so it's not my area of expertise, but I am an imaginative scientist. And in my imagination, I can imagine that we've been projecting what could happen in the future, and what, obviously there's political changes that need to happen and lots of things that need to change, and we need to keep working on those changes. But what if our imagination said that as we go forward, these changes could be faster than we originally thought? Could, that some new technology could be discovered, some new social innovation or ingenuity could emerge that could make it go faster? I mean, I don't know. The possibilities are there, and partly because the future holds infinite possibility. Okay, so that's not to say that simply thinking positively will make it happen, because that's only one piece, right? we also have to find the courage, take the action, live from our truth, continue to step into the best, highest, and most creative and powerful versions of ourselves. Think about how you have become more, how you've changed over the years. If you look back at yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and think about how you've changed since then. What have you learned? How have you stepped into a better version of yourself? How have you grown? How have you learned things and attitudes and approaches that you wouldn't have been capable of back then? And how has each challenge in your life pushed you to understand yourself more fully, to become stronger and more effective in dealing with those challenges when they show up? So we are infinitely creative when we are living our lives in the most full and complete, and just like willing to step into the messiness kind of ways. Then we are open to growth, to healing, to positive changes. And I think that that's so much about what the opportunities are that the planets are reminding us of right now. Things have been changing faster, right? It seems like the pace of change just continues to accelerate. And so who knows what we're capable of? Who knows? And who knows what we can do if we try? And we are the agents of that change. Certainly, we're dealing with those Mars, the planet Mars, and the sign of Aries has to do with bullies, with aggression, with authoritarianism. Not necessarily authoritarianism. That might be more of a Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn kind of theme, where we're being asked to reject some of the things that authority might be telling us, or the directions it's leading us, by trusting our own inner authority and that process. But also, as we're dealing with these themes of losing our power, right? If we fall in the US under an authoritarian regime, we would be living under the system of the oppressor or the bully, and we would we've been hearing about losing rights, and certainly the Roe v. Wade is a big example of that, but there are many more. And if we so in other words, those conservative elements that we have that are supposedly there's some argument about whether it's truly conservative and all that, but they're pretty radical, but they're based in wanting control, and they're based in wanting to have things be a way that existed in the past when women didn't have rights, and everybody behaved the way they were supposed to. But of course, humanity needs to evolve, and it's good for all of us. So anyway, when things like the January 6th insurrection happen, and the problem with people owning AR-15s, and the problem with guns in the country, that's also Mars energy, is what I'm trying to say. And so we can counter that kind of Mars energy and radicalism and attacks on our sense of democracy, and our sense of where we human beings are evolving and need the direction we need to go. A way to respond to that energy of attack is, again, to come back to this place of self-care. Like, I'm not giving up my truth because of this threat that you're placing upon me. I am not giving up my belief in what we can become. I am not giving up. And that feeling of courage, that feeling of um, allowing that truth within you to blossom and find its expression and say what it needs to say and live life in the way that it needs to live. That is what this Leo moon cycle is all about. There are things you can do. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to kill yourself in the process. Get good rest, eat good food, all the things that you need to take care of yourself. And this theme of this YouTube channel is astrology of unshakable self-care. So we always start there. When you have taken care of yourself, then you have the energy and the resources to do things that give your life meaning, that take imagination and hope and energy for moving forward and being creative. So let's see. So did I get down my list of things I wanted to talk about? The T-square. So Mercury opposing Saturn is just another version of this challenge. It's Mercury is about communication. It's about the voice. It's about ideas and how we process information and learn new things. Mercury is in Cancer, which is, needs some emotional ways of being of expressing itself. So thoughts and ideas and information is happening in a more emotional kind of way, or a more it can be more sensitive, an area of more sensitivity, but also more a deeper emotional expression. That Mercury opposing Saturn brings us also, Saturn is in Aquarius. So we've got this, need to speak up against the authority figures or the oppressive energies, and feeling like we don't belong, feeling like we're not important enough. And it's just saying that you actually are the authority. And when you decide to speak from that place of emotion, to communicate from where you feel things and where things have meaning to you because they hit you emotionally, that is very impactful. And that opposition between Saturn and Mercury, and forming a T-square with Uranus, where Mars is meeting up with Uranus, all of that is part of that same energy pattern. And so finding your voice, speaking your truth, believing in yourself, looking deeper within yourself to question where you have placed your faith, what you have been believing in or letting yourself think, and how that could be more expansive, how it could be more inclusive and filled with hope and possibility. What does that look like? And we're seeing some of this in what's unfolding in the news. We're seeing some grappling with these bigger questions, with some shifts in the political area and the areas of justice, of the January 6th, and potentially Trump's involvement and all of that. So maybe some winds are shifting. It doesn't matter. Keep going, keep finding your voice, because this is going to be a long haul. And no matter what happens, there's a lot of damage that's been done, and there's a lot of repair that's going to be needed. So find a way to connect with your ability to contribute. And even if you're raising a family and you're working, 40 plus hours a week, and you don't have time to get involved in anything, make it matter, make it count. That the ways that you spend your day, the ways you talk to your children, the ways you talk to your coworkers, the way you take care of yourself and take an extra minute with that cup of tea or coffee so that you can access new ways of seeing things and be more creative in your work. All of that matters. The relationships that you form and the ways you talk to the people who are in your everyday life matters. All of it is part of the healing and part of the solution. And that is how we are going to thrive in times of climate chaos, threats to democracy, and more, which brings us back to our theme. And I think I will wrap it up there because there's always so much going on astrologically, but that gives you a good sense of what I see as showing up as important right now and how to work with it. And of course, just as a reminder, we're in this Leo moon cycle. So focusing on your creativity, your self-expression, your voice, what it is you need to say, how you want to be heard, how you are, what it is you're expressing and why it's important to you. And maybe allowing more of your truth to be seen, allowing more of yourself to shine, your authentic truth to be offered in a way that has an impact. All right, find your audience, let yourself be seen, even if it's just your neighbor or your coworker. What is it you need to say, and how can you do it in a way that's loving and generous and honoring of the fact that we are all human beings here together in this challenging time, and some of us are coping better than others. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I have really enjoyed this time with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to go a little deeper and to share a larger fraction of all the things that I'm thinking about every day. So I hope it's helpful for you. Keep doing your unshakable self-care, and be sure to subscribe so that you get my daily updates. They're not always as long as this video. The daily updates are short and give you the vibe of the day astrologically and how to work with that, and support yourself to be who you ultimately are meant to be, and be your very best self, and step into your wellness and your ability to make a bigger difference, stepping into your power. All right, so subscribe, and I will see you next time, and thank you for your support, and bye for now.